Rounds cassettes. Gosh, I miss those times, man.
Alright lads, here we are with the AGS. This is the top reward for the ongoing Operation Winter event. To unlock this vehicle you have to get 10 stars out of the 12, I'm sure you're all aware of that. To be very brutally honest with you at the very start of the video, I believe that this gun is the same as that's on the Striker pretty much, or was kind of developed. Oh, this was obviously later. I think the project for a turretless tank did start with this gun though. Unfortunately, we do not get the same great ammunition that's found on the M128. But anyway, the AGS is a rank 6 battle rating 9.3 light tank located in the American tech tree. We've already covered how you unlock it, but to put it in your lineup, it'll cost you 170,000 silver lions. Being somewhat of a top tier tank, I'd highly recommend getting the Expert in Ace qualifications for this vehicle. It'll cost you 590,000 silver lions for the Expert qualification, and 2,100 golden eagles for the Ace qualification. It's also worth mentioning that this is an event vehicle, meaning the tank will come stock, and you will have to fully grind out the vehicle to unlock its full potential. That being said, when it comes to the rewards, we have a RP modifier of 440% and a silver lion modifier of 240%. So boys, this is the reward for the end that we've all been grinding. So is it really worth it? Should you redeem the coupon once you get it, or should you sell it? Well, stick around for the rest of the video to find out. Alright, the engine and mobility. The AGS is powered by an engine producing 507 horsepower. Combined with the vehicle's weight of 22.2 tons, it gives the tank a power to weight ratio of 22.6 horsepower per ton. Now for a battle rating 9.3 vehicle, that is pretty good, but compared to 9.7 and above battle rating vehicles, it's pretty lackluster to be honest. And if we're being practical, most 9.3 games are going to be up tiered to 9.7 or 10.2 at the minute. And against the main battle tanks present at these battle ratings, a 22 horsepower per ton power to weight ratio isn't going to be amazing. You aren't going to be completely outgunning them in terms of the mobility. So in all likeliness, this vehicle is going to have the same speed and mobility as most main battle tanks. So you aren't really going to be able to play this like the BMD-4 or the EBRs when they were introduced. You're not going to be able to rush to an objective, camp there and just kill the main battle tanks as they run through. At the start of a match you'll spawn in, you'll drive to an objective and main battle tanks will be there at the same time as you. So although this is a light tank, I'd highly recommend playing it more as a tank destroyer. But back to the performance. Well, we know we've got a fairly decent power to weight ratio, but what about our top speeds? Well, the AGS can reach a top speed of 72 km per hour going forwards and 15.2 km per hour in reverse. While this does sound impressive, the high top speed is only really on hard surfaces, such as paved roads. On sand and soil, your top speed is going to be more around 40 km per hour. So again, just like the acceleration, your top speed is going to be similar to most main battle tanks. What I'm trying to say is, this thing isn't going to have a huge advantage when it comes to mobility, especially against the modern main battle tanks found at battle rating 9.7 and above. The AGS is what would happen if the Macarver, the M1128 and the HSTVL all had a child together. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but that's the analogy I'm going for. We have the same crew count as the HSTVL, 3, and all 3 crew members of this tank are technically in the hull. The commander and the gunner are in the turret basket, but it is on the same level as the hull. What this means in practicality is that the tank cannot be destroyed by targeting the turret. Sure, you can knock out the gun, but there aren't any crew members in the turret to kill. While this won't protect you from overpressure, but it should make you practically immune from all Apfsds rounds, at least to the turret. And to clarify, enemies will be able to knock out your gun from the front by shooting your turret, but not knock out the tank. But like I said, we have 3 crew members on the AGS, a driver at the front and a commander and gunner at the rear of the vehicle. Just like the Macarver, we also have a frontally mounted engine, as well as a pretty highly sloped upper frontal plate. The upper frontal plate should bounce some of the early Apfsds rounds, but you should never rely on this. And the combination of the engine and transmission should eat up some of the spalling from early Apfsds rounds. It's worth noting, however, the engine is located on the left hand side of the tank, and the driver and the gunner are both exposed on the right hand side of the vehicle. So if you do come across this vehicle in battle, always shoot the driver's side of the vehicle, as you can kill the driver and the gunner, killing 2 out of the 3 crew, resulting in an instant kill of this tank. That pretty much covers everything to say on this vehicle. There is a large ammunition store at the very back of the tank, but considering that the whole right hand side of this vehicle is a weak spot, targeting ammunition stores isn't really that important in this vehicle. Alright, the gun, the funnest part of any tank. And the AGS is armed with a 105mm M68A1 cannon. You can carry a total of 30 rounds of ammunition and have a first stage ammo rack of 8 rounds. The gun is automatically loaded using an autoloader, and as I've just said, you have an ammo carousel of 8 rounds. This 8 round first stage ammunition storage and a reload rate of 5 seconds makes this tank pretty powerful, especially considering the turret is crewless, meaning if you get yourself into a hold down position, you can really pump out some damage with this weapon. The gun is also fully stabilised in both the horizontal and vertical planes. You have somewhat decent vertical guidance characteristics, with 12 degrees of gun elevation and 8 degrees of gun depression. This is nowhere near as good as the HSTVL, but it is certainly workable. The tank also has a laser rangefinder, as well as first generation thermal imaging, the latter of which isn't great, but at battle rating 9.3, it's kind of what you'd expect. We then come on to the ammunition, and our stock round is the M456A2 round. This is high explosive anti-tank fin stabilised, travels at a muzzle velocity of 1173 meters per second, and can penetrate 346mm of armour at 1000 meters, sloped at 30 degrees. This is a fairly decent stock shell, but it does mean the AGS will have stock syndrome. We also have a smoke shell which has a scream time of 25 seconds and a radius of 20 meters, so bog standard smoke shell. We also have a HESH round which is pretty much dead on arrival like all other HESH rounds in the game. It has the same 127mm of penetration as most of the 120 HESH shells, which is pretty neat, but again, HESH is a pretty meme round at the minute, I wouldn't bother using it. We then have a selection of 2 Apfsds rounds, the C76A1 and the M735. The M735 is a rank 1 modification, meaning it is the first Apfsds round you will likely get access to. It can penetrate 353mm of flat armour at 10 meters, or 333mm of armour at 1000 meters. It travels at 1501 meters per second, but has pretty poor sloped penetration characteristics, only being able to penetrate 156mm of armour sloped at 60 degrees at a range of 1000 meters. The C76A1 on the other hand is a rank 4 unlock. It travels slightly faster at 1509 meters per second, but penetrates the same base 353mm of armour. The difference, however, is when it comes to sloped armour penetration. At a range of 1000 meters against armour angled at 60 degrees, the C76A1 round can penetrate 192mm of armour, 40mm more of that of the M735 round. While this doesn't seem like much, at battle rating 9.3 and above, pretty much all the armour you'll be facing will be sloped. There are some downsides though. The C76A1 round is a little bit hit and miss. Sometimes it's a one-shot kill, sometimes it doesn't really do much spalling. But that's it for your main gun. You do also have 2 rifle caliber machine guns, one mounted coaxially and one in a commander's pintle. And that's all really there is to say about this tank. It's got a very good reload speed, but its ammunition choices aren't amazing to be honest. As I said, the C76 is a little bit hit or miss. You don't really have the reliability you'd want. You can't just shoot a tank and know for sure that it's going to kill it. Sometimes you pull the trigger and swear that you're going to get an instant kill and it just barely any damage. This tank might get better ammunition in the future, who knows. But as it stands, it's a pretty powerful little machine if you get the sides of vehicles. It has the power and penetration to actually get through the armour, but it's just let down a little bit when it comes to post-penetration spalling damage. To conclude, the AGS is a pretty nice addition to War Thunder. It's quite a unique vehicle, so it being an event vehicle is kind of what you'd expect really. The tank's decently mobile, it's quite low profile as well. It does have a great big gun sticking on the top which does take a little bit away from its subtlety, but if you hold down in the tank, just a gun sticking out over the top of a ridgeline is quite hard to spot, especially on simulator battle modes. As well as in thermal images to be honest. Most people are looking for big square boxes in the thermal, so seeing a small little square, just a barrel sticking up, it'll be quite difficult for people to spot to be honest. Especially if they only got first generation thermals on the tank, like you do. That is one of the major weaknesses of the AGS, it does have pretty awful thermals to be honest. Generation 1 thermals, they're good for acquiring targets but not really for shooting. So spot a target and then switch back to normal view when you actually need to pinpoint fire. The reload of 5 seconds is very good. The ammunition is a little bit hit and miss. Some games it's amazing. Some games it's like throwing a potato at the side of a vehicle. Its battle rating of 9.3 is fairly well balanced in my opinion. I don't see a reason why it would go up to battle rating 9.7. The mobility isn't that great, it's got no armor survivability to speak of really. The ammunition is powerful, sure, but it isn't consistent enough to be 9.7 in my opinion. So I think this is a pretty decent little vehicle. I'd say it's even a pretty good contender for putting a talisman on it and using it as a grinding. Being an event vehicle, it will only be able to grind out rank 5, 6 and 7 though. And of course isn't going to make you any silver lions. But what's most important is having fun. I did have a lot of fun playing this tank. A lot of the games that I was playing was mainly going up against the T-72AV terms, the Soviet Premium, in battle rating 9.7 and 10.0 games. And I did still have fun, even in up tiers, so if you have been grinding out the tanker stars, then I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Alright lads, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel. You can also leave a like and a comment, which again, also boosts me in the algorithm, helping my channel to grow. You can also follow me on Twitter as well as Twitch, and if you're a huge fan of the channel, you can become a member of the YouTube channel, which will give you a unique icon next to your comment, in both comments under videos and on YouTube live streams. Once again, thank you very much for watching this far into the video lads, and I'll see you in the next one.